panic in Brussels. European leaders, shocked by an unexpected blow, are frantically calling each other, trying to figure out how to respond. The cause of the chaos? Donald Trump. A new executive order from the 45th President of the United States has sent shockwaves through the geopolitical landscape. The White House no longer considers the European Union a unified political partner. The silence that engulfed the corridors of EU power was not one of deliberation. It was the stunned pause after a powerful strike. Brussels' leadership has come face to face with reality. Their influence has crumbled. Washington will now build relationships not with the EU as a whole, but with individual European states. This is not just diplomatic rigidity. It is a fundamental shift in global politics. The EU is no longer a unified force. Instead, it is fragmenting into a collection of separate countries, each forced to negotiate with the US independently. Europe is cracking at the seams. Disagreements that were previously concealed behind a facade of unity are now fully exposed. France and Germany sought dominance, Poland resisted, Italy maneuvered cautiously, while Eastern European countries supported most decisions purely for financial incentives. Now, Brussels has lost control over the situation. The old system is collapsing, and a new one has yet to take shape. The world is entering an era of political turbulence, and Europe risks becoming its epicenter. If Washington no longer sees Brussels as a serious player, the EU's political concept collapses like a house of cards. German expert Thomas Fritsch believes that the loss of US trust signals the disintegration of the Union, while French analyst Pierre Lemoine emphasizes that Ursula von der Leyen and her inner circle have completely lost political relevance. If even the White House no longer takes them seriously, what purpose do they serve for European nations? Behind closed doors in Brussels, discussions are already underway about the potential fragmentation of the EU into smaller alliances. Germany, which had long used the European Union to advance its economic ambitions, can no longer count on Washington's support. Berlin is losing its dominant position, while Trump is deliberately weakening EU coordination by offering individual countries more favorable bilateral agreements. This enables Washington to manipulate European nations separately, preventing them from forming a united front. The first blows have fallen on Germany and France, the two countries that traditionally set the tone in the EU. Poland is in a precarious position. It previously relied on Brussels as a shield against pressure from Berlin and Paris, but must now establish direct ties with Washington. Hungary, on the other hand, sees this shift as an opportunity to strengthen its position. Viktor Orban, a longtime critic of EU bureaucracy, now feels victorious. Italy's reaction is particularly noteworthy. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni remains cautious in her statements, yet her alignment with Washington's new strategy is evident. The European order is undergoing rapid transformation, and the EU is facing a defining moment: adapt to the new reality or dissolve completely. French political scientist Jean-Marc Lafon stresses that Europe has no equivalent of Donald Trump. Even among right-wing populists like Marine Le Pen, no figure blindly follows the US political course. Their primary focus remains national interests, not imitation of American strategy. This dynamic creates a fertile ground for Washington to exploit divisions within the EU, deepening existing tensions. Amid these developments, a new political force is emerging in Germany: Alternative for Germany, AfD. Its leader, Alice Weidel, recently received support from Elon Musk, who, as is well known, openly backs Trump. This could serve as an early warning sign for the German establishment, indicating that Berlin may begin to shift its political trajectory. In the coming years, Germany will face a difficult choice: continue adhering to the vision of a unified Europe, or seek new, more pragmatic relations with Washington, abandoning its previous policies. Spanish analyst Javier Santos believes that a rift between the EU and the US is now inevitable. The only question is how far Brussels will take this confrontation. Will it attempt to forge an alternative geopolitical path, or will it gradually succumb to external pressure? Meanwhile, Trump's decision to exclude Brussels as a significant intermediary on the global stage is not just a bold diplomatic move. It represents a seismic shift in international relations and a fundamental realignment of global power. Europe is rapidly losing its influence as a key player, while the US continues to expand its power, reshaping former alliances. As the Washington Post reports, Trump has not only decided to cut funding for a certain country, but has also explicitly stated that its NATO membership is off the table. This declaration will undoubtedly mark the beginning of a new phase of geopolitical confrontation. The United States is stepping away from responsibility for this project, shifting the burden onto Europe. But can Brussels handle it? The EU finds itself in an extremely fragile position. Germany teeters on the edge of recession, France is shaken by protests, and Poland faces economic struggles. Moscow, meanwhile, is closely observing the situation. According to insider reports, the Kremlin is willing to consider diplomatic initiatives, but only under one strict condition: a complete renegotiation of spheres of influence without EU involvement. The global order is undergoing a dramatic transformation before our very eyes. While Ursula von der Leyen announces new sanctions, her political power is steadily fading. At the negotiating table, only three major players remain: the United States, Russia, and China. Europe, once a central force in global affairs, is now merely a spectator, losing control over its own destiny. This moment could be historic. Brussels continues to project an illusion of strength, but the reality is quite different. How far will this crisis go? Will Europe fight for its place in the world, or will it resign itself to being a geopolitical outsider? The answers will become clear in the coming months. For now, the world watches as Trump continues rearranging the pieces on the global chessboard, reshaping the balance of power.